Okay, so
Please.
yeah. So this one is so to complete the thing that we're saying before. Imagine this, like in 1 year ago, we did a course of fermentation with Sena, that is an institute of education here in Colombia, and we did around 64 different protocols of fermentation, and every single protocol tastes different. So that's why it's difficult to say which variety is better than which variety, because it's going to depend on different variables. Nutrition, shade, altitude, humidity, temperature, density of plantation. The variety is actually is really important in that, but it's a lot of variables that you have to manage to see which one is better or not. So I don't know if you want to translate that, and I show you the piece.
Actually, I a little bit.
You kind of okay. So here,
can you tell us again?
So here in this part, this one is a natural hive. This one are stingless bee. This is another, like, how can I say that, like genetic of not genetic, like variety, like family of bees. So this one doesn't have stings, and this is the entrance, and inside this tree is the nest. So as this one,
o iğnesiz arıları görüyoruz. Yuvalarından bir tanesini, bu doğal yuvalarından bir tanesi. Onun haricinde Jose ayrıyetten kovan da yapıyor ayrı ayrı bu arılar için. Bunlar genetik olarak ayrı bir arı ailesinin üyeleriymiş. Komple bütün üyeler iğnesiz. Yanlış hatırlamıyorsam kraliçe arı da dahildi. You can continue.
Okay, so that's one of the reasons why we don't want to actually put a lot of chemicals in the farm, because we have all these bees that are actually helping us, right? Look here, some castillos that are ripening at the moment.
Castillo varyetesinin kirazları arkadaşlar, bazı olgunlaşmış olanlar.
So I'm gonna show you something in this part. You see that part over there that is like really bushy and with a lot of wheat, and it's really bad. So the farm, in one part of the farm, all the farm was like that. The farm was kind of abandoned because coffee growing is not really profitable here in Colombia. It's really difficult to grow coffee and to be profitable. So my family just kind of give up, and we start to do different business. And then about like real estate and stuff like that. But then I decide, like, okay, they have to exist a way to be profitable, right? So that's why we change to specialty coffee, and that's and that's the reason that's the only part that is in the farm like that. But around 18 hectares in coffee are all now renovated, and we're putting good trees in the moment. But
you can continue.
Okay, so that's something that that's the reality here in Colombia. It's really sad because a lot of coffee growers are just giving up and saying, like, okay, it's not going to be profitable, bye. But we have to understand, like, hey, this is a business, right? And if you don't innovate, if you don't investigate, if you don't develop stuff, you will never be profitable and successful. So that's why we change a little bit the way that we're processing here in the farm.
I'll translate it. Hikayesinden de bahsetti biraz. Capilla del Rosario'yu tekrar canlandırma, nitelikli kahve işine sokma hikayesinden bahsetti. Daha önceden ben ilk ziyaretimde Daniel'dan dinlemiştim bu hikayeyi ve bahsediyorum da bazı söyleşilerimde bu hikayeden. Çünkü çok ilham verici bir hikaye. Bu bahsettiği problem bu arada birçok Kolombiyalı çiftçide var. Bahsedilen problem şu, genel olarak genç jenerasyonun veya kaldı ki ticari kahve üretimi yapan yaşlı jenerasyonunda, bir önceki jenerasyonunda kahve tarımını, çiftçiliği bırakmaları problemi. Çünkü ticari kahve üretiyorlar ve küçük hektar alanda ürettikleri zaman yayının başında söylediğim gibi çok karlı bir iş olmuyor. Çünkü üretim az, maliyet düşük, sattığın para da düşük olmaz onu. Ne kadar yükseğe satabilirsin ki ticari kahveyi. Bundan dolayı karlı bir iş olmuyor. O zaman da bırakmaya başlıyorlar. Kaldı ki Jose'nin ailesi de bu şekilde tarımdan çok ciddi verim ve kar alamayınca bırakmaya karar vermiş ve emlak işine girmeye başlamışlar ve birçok arazisi var burada o bölgede Jose'nin ailesinin. Tam tersi de Jose genç jenerasyon olarak ben nitelikli kahve yapmak istiyorum ve bunu geliştirmek istiyorum bu tarlada ve katma değer koyup karlı bir iş haline getirmek istiyorum tarımı demiş ve ailesiyle anlaşarak Capilla del Rosario'nun özellikle nitelikli kahve yaptığı alanlarını ciddi fokuslanarak, önem vererek yetiştirmiş. Can continue?
So I'm going to show you the different how we can see that is a big tree. You see this one here? That is like a really big trunk like this one. And this one is a new one. See? So this one is about like 4 years old. That is really thin. Let's see the difference between this one.
It's
this one
very than the other one. Yeah.
This one is 30 years old or 4 years old.
It's very old.
Yeah, this one here is really old.
Older
so
than
what
me.
we have, you see,
it's very thick.
so what we do is that we cut down the tree, and they start to grow new branches, and that's the way that we do renovations. So what we normally do is that we cut the tree, and they start to grow new ones like this one. You see here that is like a cut here.
Yeah.
So we cut down this one, and they start to grow again. Why we do that? Because the tree is going to be really tall, and it's difficult to harvest. And the other reason is because of the production. In this case, we can have a concentrate production in one part, and the picker don't have to do a lot of effort to pick the tree. So actually, there is like a curve of production. So the curve starts to increase like this, and then when it's like 4 or 5 years, start to increase. In 6 years, it starts to stabilize, and then in 6 years, it starts the drop, the curve of production.
Yeah.
Then you have to cut down the tree. It's going to depend on the density, but cut down the tree doesn't mean that you are killing the tree. It's just that you are allowing the tree to grow again, to put in the branches. So that we call that soka.
Yeah, I'll translate this process. Şu an fidan tarla içerisinde genç ağaçlarla yaşlı ağaçları gösterdi bize. Bir tane 30 yaşında bir ağacı gösterdi. Bir yandan da 4 yaşında bir ağacı gösterdi. Yaşlı olan ağaç, yani birçok ağaçta olduğu gibi yine ciddi kalın. Arabika ağacı olmasına rağmen kalın. Ben yaşlı ağaç görmemiştim burada. O kadar detaylı bakmamıştık fidanlara. Yaşlı ağaçlara bakmamıştım daha doğrusu. Yaşlı ağaçlarda şöyle bir problem varmış. Hem üretim kalitesi ciddi düşmeye başlıyormuş. Yoğunluğu ciddi düşmeye başlıyormuş kahvenin. Ve onları artık belli bir yaştan sonra budamaya başlıyorlarmış ki genç fidanlar daha fazla beslenebilsin diye. Bu yani öldürmek için değil, hani ortadan kaldırmak için değil, tam tersi genç fidanlar, genç ağaçlar, keza ondan türeyen yeni dallar, tabandan gelen daha iyi beslenebilsin diye. You can continue.
Okay, you want to move on to the other questions about the processing?
Okay, one second. Is there any order of importance or value between varieties you have?
Okay, so yes, actually, to have different varieties and different process and different profile is very important to a coffee grower, because then you can have different clients. You know, like every single client is different.
Mhm.
Some clients prefer some different varieties on some different profiles, or they are willing to pay more because have a unique process or a unique variety or something that is really weird, you know. So that's something that
By the way,
we
sorry,
want
it close in 2 minutes. I close this one and I'll make a new one.
Okay.
Then I'll invite you.
Okay.
Can start again at the question.
Okay, so actually it's important to have different varieties if you want to have a specialty coffee. Why? Because when you have a specialty coffee, you are dealing actually like directly with your client. And people that are willing to pay more are willing to pay more because have an exotic profile of coffee taste, because have a unique variety, because have a unique process, because it's something that is actually worth it, because it's not just the social things or just a normal Colombian blend and that's it, a wash process and that's it, because they are actually willing to pay more because they see the effort that you're doing in your farm, right? Because of these different varieties, these different processes, all this different stuff that we're doing. So if you want to have a specialty coffee, of course, it's important to have different varieties. But you have to be really careful with that as a coffee grower. Why? Because a lot of people think that grow varieties are just as normal as like common varieties, right? So in some cases you have to spend a lot of money to get these varieties and process well, and then you have to invest time and effort getting these clients. So that's why it's important to know which is your market and what you want to do in your farm, because we want not just only to grow a specialty coffee just for drink, but because we want to actually start in the educational part. That's why we want to grow these coffee varieties, even though some of these varieties, maybe 1 or 2,000 trees, give me losses in incomes. Actually give me a lot of profit in knowledge, you know, because then I know how this variety behaves in my farm. Then I can show to people like, hey, look, this variety looks like this, and I have this and these problems, and it's a different approach of a specialty coffee. That's why we are having here that mix of varieties, because not just because we want to sell coffee and get money with that, because we actually want to educate and to investigate and develop in the coffee varieties.
Okay, I'll translate. Sorumuz şuydu arkadaşlar. Elinde olan varyetelerin arasında bir değer farkı, bir değer sıralaması var mı? Bu değer hem yetiştirme değeri olsun, zorluğu olsun, hem de fiyat olarak olsun. Tabii ki var diyor. Tahmin ettiğimiz üzere. Egzotik varyetelerin özellikle diyor ciddi bir üretim maliyeti, aynı zamanda ciddi bir üretim aşaması, zor bir üretilmesi ürünü elde etmek için. Pardon dede.
Okay.
Bu arada yıkama istasyonunun olduğu yerde şu an arkadaşlar. Bu değer sıralamasında da egzotik varyeteler daha fazla kazandırdığı için daha fazla fiyata satılabiliyor. Çünkü tat profilleri çok geniş. Fakat diyor bir tarımcının şunlara dikkat etmesi gerek. Sadece egzotik varyetelerden, pahalı varyetelerden bir üretim yaparsa alınmadığı durumda ciddi zarara geçirebilir tarlayı diyor. Şu anda yıkama istasyonunu görüyorsunuz arkadaşlar. You can tell us the washing station.
Okay, so
this one is, I think, fermentation station.
Yeah. So here in the moment, I'm in the wet mill. The wet mill is the place where we process the coffee. So which are the steps? So first we talk about germination and plantation. Now we're talking about like processing. So first of all, we take the ripe cherry. This one is a Castillo one. And this one is a yellow one. You see the difference of size? This one is a Colombian yellow variety, are different size. So first of all, we pick the cherries, And we have two groups. We have one group that are picking only the really, really good fruits. That those fruits are going for specialty coffee, for good process. And another group that are picking the bad fruits, the ones that are maybe bitten by insects or are already like dry in the tree, stuff like that. So, and that one is going to normal commodity process or a wash process. So then after we pick the coffee, we hand selected again. We put in tanks with water because they are going to float. The ones that float are the ones that are less dense, and the ones that have maybe lack some nutrition or have some insects inside or stuff like that. So they are just going to float. We remove the ones that float, and the ones that sinks, that stay down, are the ones that are heavier. Those ones we use it for fermentation purpose. So first I'm going to explain the wash process, and the wash process happens in the wet mill. So the wet mill is a place where we take the coffee cherry, we put it in these machines. Let me show you.
Arkadaşlar şu an yıkama istasyonundayız ve daha evvel kiraz seçimlerinden bahsetti. Daha kaliteli kirazların fermentasyon için ve yıkama için nitelikli kahve olarak satıldığını, geri kalanının da ticari kahve olarak satıldığını, ona göre işlendiğini söyledi. Şu anda depulper görüyoruz. Is that a depulper? Yes?
Yeah. So this one we put it in this machine. This is a depulper. Here we have two type of machines. This one is a disc. This one. This one is, if you see, this one is just like a big disc. The rocks, wood, everything can go here, and this one is not going to be damaged. So this one is used for the bad coffee, for the one that is not, for the one that we selected from the good one. And this one we selected we use it for the good coffee. So here, if you see here, there is like a metal part that generates pressure with the seeds. So the seeds go in this place, and then the because of the pressure, remove the skin to one side, to this side here, in the bottom, and the seeds without the skin goes to this part here. Okay.
Burada depulper'dan bahsetti arkadaşlar. Depulper'ın amacı kahvenin kiraz meyvesini ayırmak çekirdekten. İki tür depulper'ları var. Bir depulper daha geniş olanı, demin ağzını gösterdi. Ona taş veya atıyorum yabancı madde dediğimiz kusur kitabında foreign matter. Bunların da karışabildiği bir depulper, daha ucuz bir depulper ve sadece ticari kahve için kullanılıyor, düşük kalite kahve için kullanılıyor. Öteki depulper ise nitelikli kahve için kullanılıyor. Daha dar bir ağız vardı arkadaşlar, gördüyseniz, ve bir yandan da içerisindeki bıçakları o döneri gösterdi. Bir kısımdan kirazlar kaskara olarak veya kompost için ayıklanıyor, diğer taraftan da çekirdekler düşüyor. You can continue.
So after that, we put the coffee seeds in fermentation tanks. So these one are the fermentation tanks that were traditional here in the farm. So we just leave it there. You see, there's a lot of black parts because of the skin of the cherry, because it's not clean already. Then what we do in the wash process, I'm gonna show you on a second. I'll show you how this works. So what is going to happen here is that we open varyeteler.
Şu an arkadaşlar ama işleminin başlangıcına tanık oluyorsunuz. Şu an ilk aldıkları çekirdekleri yıkamaya başladı.
So you hear me there well? So what happened here is that we just fill that with water.
Mm-hmm.
Then the coffee starts to go out this washing channel. And what this does is that after this is filled with water, the coffee cherries are going to stay here in this part. The one that floats, because we put these gates here, the one that floats are the ones that are really bad coffees. Those are going to float and go all the way to here. Here is the really, really bad coffee, the one that we call pasillas here in Colombia. The pasilla is the one that is bitten by insects, that is frozen, that have lack of nutrition, the really, really bad coffee. Those coffee, actually, we drink it here in Colombia.
Yeah, I know. I'll
high roasted
a couple of times in Colombia
to cover everything, and it's really, really bad.
Yeah, it tastes like earth. And,
yeah, the worst coffee of. But it's sad that we as producers in Colombia, we drink that coffee, you know? I mean, we export the good stuff and then we drink the bad stuff. So
bir anda I'll translate it. Şu an bir yıkama aşamasına tanık oluyorsunuz arkadaşlar. İlk aşamada yüzen çekirdekleri ayıklıyorlar. Bunlar olgunlaşmamış olan çekirdekler. Bunları ayıklama yöntemini gösterdi. O yıkama kanallarında setler çekerek üstte yüzen çekirdeklerin kolayca ayrıştığı ve akıp gittiği ve ilk düştükleri tankı gösterdi bize. Ve ticari olarak satılacak olan kısmı ifade ediyor aslında bir yandan da o tank. En solda kalan. You can continue.
So look, the coffee starts to go to this part over here, and when the tank is full with water, then it starts to drop the coffee in this area.
Şu an arkadaşlar o ilk tanktaki ilk yıkanan kahvenin kanalları akışıyor. Ve seti koyuyor yüzen yıkanması için.
So you see here that the coffee starts to float. So this coffee here, you see, is all the skins, all the ones that are bad, that are not really good, and the ones that is in the bottom are the ones that are good coffees. So let's. So these have this shape because it's fermented, right? So you see, all this water is actually contaminated with the fruit.
Yeah.
We have to wash all of this and to be clear to have the wash process. As you can see here, this process actually is really, really bad for the environment. Why? Because we're using a lot of water.
Yeah.
But this is the most common way to process coffee here in Colombia. Let me open here again. This one here. So I just open this one, and then the bad coffee goes.
Şu an arkadaşlar yüzücü kahveler, floaters diye geçen daha düşük yoğunluklu ve olgunlaşmamış olan çekirdekler ticari kanala gidiyor yıkanması için. Onu açtı.
just like a quick example of how we process the coffee.
Yeah,
This one is the traditional way, right?
Yeah.
But there is more than the. I mean, there is other two different processes. So after this, after we wash the coffee, we use. Hold on a second. We use things like this one. So we can mix the coffee. This is the wash. So in this part, well, what happened here is that these things are going to float and are going to be removed. And all of these that are floats, that are bad beans, goes to the bad beans. Okay.
Kanalda bir yandan.
That's one process. Pardon me?
I'll translate it to Turkish.
Okay.
Turkish. Kanalda bir yandan da arkadaşlar küreklerle tarıyorlar ki dipte kalan eğer yüzücü olan çekirdekler çıkamıyor veya kanatlar çıkamıyorsa da çıksın diye. You can continue.
So after that, there are two ways to process the coffee. A mechanical way, that is with ovens. This one are the ovens where we dry the coffee, right?
Yeah.
So we just put here coal or wood in this place here. We open it, the ovens. We control the temperature here. Then the heat go inside the ovens and it's dried. Because in the moment we are not in the harvest season, so we're drying the coffee in the sun like normal, and we're using this place to storage coffee. You see there?
Yeah.
So here are some sacks of wash process. This coffee is actually going to Korea. This one here. And that's how like the wash process ends. What is the difference between the honey process and the natural process? So in wash process, what we do is that we pick the cherry, we pull or we remove the skin, then we ferment it with a purpose that the microorganisms eat all the like sugar content of the cherry. Then we wash with a lot of water. Separate by density the good beans and the bad beans, and then we dry or in a mechanical way in ovens or in the sun. So that's the wash process. And I'm going to show you another two different processes, that is the honey process and the natural process. So natural process, we actually don't need this place. Natural process are the one that we don't remove the skin. We want to dry out the coffee cherry with all the skin. I'm gonna show you how it's going to look like. I have some here. It's a little bit dark, but let me show you. So the natural process is not because it's natural or we're using different ingredients or to the others. No, the natural process of the dry process is the one that we actually are not using the machines. So what we do is that we take the coffee cherry and we just dry in the sun or in the or with mechanical ways until it's dry at all. You see here? Yeah. Here, because in this farm the temperature of the dry station is really high. That's why we need to have some fermentation before we put it in the to dry in the sun, because it's going to be really difficult to get those fermented notes in the coffee cherry. That's why in the moment we're developing some 5 days, 10 days fermentation before dry this coffee. In some other farms they're just putting straight the coffee and that's it. But in this one, because it's different, the temperature and everything, that's why we have to change a little bit the process. And the other process is called the honey process. I'm gonna show you the honey process in this part. So this one is the beneficio or the wet milk. It's where we process the wash process. In there we don't process the natural process because it just pick the cherry and put it directly to the sun or doing a fermentation in some tanks, and that's it. So,
by the way, I'll translate a little bit at the mechanical dryer and the other processes. Arkadaşlar demin ticari kahveler için kullandıkları mekanik kurutucuyu gördünüz. Bir önceki sefer şimdi oraya gidiyoruz. Kurutma istasyonu görmüşsünüz. Burası yani. Burasını teknik kahveler için ve bal prosesleri için kullanıyor. Yükseltilmiş yataklarda kurutuyor. Diğerleri ticari için olanları da mekanik kurutucularda odun ateşinde içerisindeki ısıyı yükselterek odanın ticari kahveler için kuruttuğu odayı gördük. Bir yandan da bize yıkama işlemini gösterdi ve o işlemin dışında da natureli gösterdi. Şimdi de bal prosesi görüyoruz. Natural proseste kahve kirazıyla beraber fermente ediliyor ve kurutuluyor. Bal proseste ise skin yani deri tabakası, meyvenin deri tabakası çıkarılıp müsilaj tabakasıyla beraber yataklara bırakılıyor kurutulması üzere. Bal prosesi de bu yöntemin ismi. You can continue.
So this is the wash process. This is how it looks like, because we remove the skin, the mucilage, and we leave the seed with the parchment. That is the white skin, right? Then, so the natural process is the one that I just showed you. That is with everything, with the cherry and everything. And this one here is a honey process. So why is called honey process? See how this sticks. You see? It's really sticky. You see the difference?
It's very yeah.
So that's the difference between a wash process that doesn't have the like the meat or the mucilage in the seed, but this one will actually leave the and it sticks like honey, and this one is really sticky. That's why we call this the honey process. So these one are different, just different
red honey or black honey.
So because this one have more reds than black, I will call this a red honey, right? But it's just because of the oxidation of the mucilage. So as you can see here, this one is more yellow than this one, and that is going to depend because of the humidity. When it's more the humidity, it's going to impact directly to the color. So if one day it rains a lot and the other day it doesn't rain, the ones that rains is going to turn more black than the other ones. This profile to that profile, this coffee is going to Stuttgart, to Germany. Nikolai Kurz sell this coffee without he's the middleman. And it's a process that we have 72 hours of fermentation in white tanks that are like close anaerobic without oxygen. And then we pulp it and put it here after the 72 hours. So it's after 3 days we put it here. We dry it here for about 2 weeks and a half. And then we store the coffee. So all the honey here is going to Mokuska. That's the place in Germany. And the wash process is going to Abyssinia. That is a coffee place in Korea. That we sell it through Daniel with Amatiu.
Also, we have two different questions for the fermentation process and experimental processing methods. I'm asking the next question for you. What's your opinion to experimental processing methods? If you're making an experimental process, would you explain to us?
Okay, so I am a person that actually I process a lot and do a lot of experiments, right? The problem of coffee is that we are not that developed as beer or wine. You know, like in the wine industry or in the beer industry, they say, okay, let's do this fermentation with this yeast, and if the curve of the pH doesn't drop as fast as it's dropping, so we put phosphoric acid to drop the pH, so the yeast is the one that is eating the sugars and not the bacteria, and you know, all this kind of stuff that actually beer and wine industry know. Here in Colombia and worldwide in coffee, we are not that developed, so that's why I'm really interested in this area, and I'm actually do a lot of investigations. And in the moment we are working with we're trying to start some experiments with the university, measuring yeast, bacteria, all kind of microorganisms, and copying that to see what is better or not, right? It's difficult to say which bacteria or microorganism gives better taste or different flavor because the market changed. You know, some years ago, in the coffee industry, the long fermentation were not really good for the people. People were not like, okay, I don't want to drink a really fermented coffee. Nowadays, people love like alcoholic fermentations and stuff like that. So the market is changing, specialty coffee changing, to investigate, to develop, to do experiments is really important, and not just about temperature, about humidity, about times, because what is common now is like, hey Jose, give me your recipe of your red honey or your black honey. So I tell them, okay, I do a 72 hours fermentation and aerobic without oxygen. Then I pulp it and put in the African beds for 2.5 weeks, right? And then they start to do that, and it's different. But my cup is not the same as yours, and it's the same variety, and blah blah blah, and all the stuff. But actually, we are not looking the different variables that have. We're measuring pH. Yeah, we're measuring electric conductivity. We're measuring temperature, humidity, all this stuff. But actually, we don't know what kind of microorganisms are eating there in the fermentation stage, because it's really complex in the moment. That's why it's important to do experiments and investigations. Adding different microorganisms, adding different stuff that help to us to understand a little bit more about the flavors of coffee.
Okay. I'll explain your vision in Turkish.
Okay.
Jose diyor ki, sorumuz şuydu başta, deneysel proseslerle, işlemlere karşı, fermentasyonlara karşı görüşünüz, vizyonunuz nedir? Eğer yapıyorsanız da açıklar mısınız biraz? Ve bununla alakalı esas bir tane yaptığı projeye dair de bir sorumuz var. Benim tarafımdan sorulmuş olan. Cevabı şuydu, olumlu bakıyor bir kere. Çünkü diyor ki nitelikli kahve sektörü artık ciddi anlamda değişiyor. Eskiden insanlar geleneksel 3 metoda bakarlardı ve geriye kalan azıcık daha uzun süreli deneysel şeylere dahi bu fazla fermente olmuş diye almazlardı. Şimdi ise bakış açısı farklı. Tat olarak daha farklı tatlar isteniyor ve bir yandan da üniversite araştırmalarıyla beraber yaptığımız, birlikte geliştirdiğimiz şeyler gösteriyor ki şu anda bir deneysel prosese bakıyorsunuz. Bunun hakkında sorunuz var. Gösteriyor ki farklı mikroorganizmalar, farklı ortamlarda gelişen mikroorganizmalar farklı tatlara sebep olabiliyor kahvede. Buna bira endüstrisi ve şarap endüstrisi çok aşina. Fakat kahve endüstrisi olarak hala daha çok yeni bunun için. Fakat üniversiteler bunun için, bilimsel araştırma bunun için iyi bir seçenek dedi ve şu an kendi yaptığı bir fermentasyonu gösteriyor. We have a question by me for this processing. I know you make one experimental fermentation, coffee cherries fermented with sour juice. Would you show us and explain to us those fermentations?
Okay. So, because I'm in a stage where I have to actually start to investigate and develop different processing, right? So I study business administration, but besides that, I study gastronomy. I am a chef. And in the chef, as we all know the sort of, right? That is the natural yeast to make bread. If you think about bread, you see that, okay, let's eat industrial bread that is with industrial yeast. It's like plain, it's like a plain flavor, it's soft, the crust is normal, you know, it's like a normal bread. But then if we taste a sort of bread, the crust is more complex, the flavor is you know, like the bread inside is more humid, the flavor are like acid, fermented, fruity, the crust is crunchy, it's different, you know, and that happens because of the yeast, of the natural yeast that we have in the sourdough. So actually you can do the same principles with any other product. You take the product, you leave the juice that extracts from there, and then you just put it new like fuel to the water, so the microorganisms keep eating all the sugars. So I did this 1 year ago. This one here. So what is this? Is just this juice has been here for 1 year.
Wow.
If we smell this one doesn't smell more than 1 year. This one doesn't smell like rotten. This one smells a little bit like vinegar, fermented, like winey. But this one doesn't smell bad. And if you see all these little bubbles here, it's because it's active. So the microorganisms are actually eating all the sugars of here. So what normally I do is that I remove the coffee cherries. Then I put new coffee cherries. I do that every single 3 days. Why I do this is because I want to give more sugar content to the microorganisms, so they keep eating. And if you see how the juice is really sticky.
Yeah.
So if we taste this tastes like a fruit of like a vinegar fruit. It's really acid. It's really acid. It's a little bit acidic, but it's actually it's good because it smells like I don't know, maybe like a cherry juice, really fruity. Smells. I mean, it's a really good smell and flavor. So that's how we know that the fermentation is good. So because in fermentation we want that the yeast are the one that are the eating and not the bacteria, because that can get rotten. So with this experiment, what I'm doing is just putting and dropping the pH, the acid, and because I have there like a how do you say that, like a harvest of microorganisms, so that is going to help the other in the other fermentation to grow. So it's my theory. I'm just doing experiment investigation about this. It's crazy. Sometimes the flavor is really good. Sometimes the flavor is weird. It's really bad. But I think it's one of the ways that we have to process the coffee, because as a sourdough, if we actually can manage this in coffee fermentation, it's going to be more complex and better. But it's difficult.
And that batch fermented in 1 year, right?
The water is more than 1 year.
The water is more than 1 year. That
just the water.
Just
the water. Because the cherries, I each 3 days I remove the cherries and put new cherries. So the water is the same water.
Okay, I'll translate it. Arkadaşlar, ciddi anlamda benim de ilk gördüğüm bir metot deniyor Jose. Fermentasyonun ismi Sardius. Ekşi sulu diye mi çevirebiliriz ya da ekşi meyve suyu diye mi çevirebiliriz? Hani ne diye çevirebiliriz? Tam bir Türkçe çevirisini şu an yapamadım açıkçası. Sardius demesinin sebebi de sourdough'tan, yani mayadan ve ekşi mayadan geliyor. Bir yıl veya bir yılın biraz daha üstü öncesinde geliştirdiği bir maya ile birlikte mayaları suya yatırdığı bir tank hazırlamış. Ve bu tankta mayalarla beraber kirazları fermente ediyor 3 gün boyunca. genellikle 3 gün boyunca fermente ediyormuş. Direkt ilk toplanılan kirazları koyuyor ve orada maya bakteriler kahve kirazının içerisindeki şekerleri tüketmeye başlıyor ve daha böyle hafif alkolümsü bir yapıda tatlar oluşturmaya başlıyormuş. Ve özellikle hatta o sırf suyu bile gösterdi bize de. Kokusu diyor asetik asidi andırıyor. Bir yandan böyle meyvemsi bir kokusu var diyor suyun, ekşi suyun. Bir yandan da diyor hafif diyor sirkemsi bir kokusu var diyor. Fakat kahveye ciddi anlamda kompleks tatlar bir yöntem diyor. You can continue.
Okay, so that's why it's important to actually have different process and doing different investigations.
Mm-hmm.
The idea of this is to have a like harvest of microorganisms where we just inoculate the fermentations. Mm-hmm. People are doing that with different fruits. People are doing that with different yeast, of wine yeast, beer yeast, doing experiments, and that's great because that's the way that we found new flavors and new markets. So I think that is a good approach to do this kind of experiments. Of course, we actually have to write down everything because sometimes it's crazy because sometimes I do like 20, 30, 40, 50 experiments. I copy everything. And I always say to Nikolai Furtz or to Daniel, hey, look this experiment and look this, and they are really exciting because they actually don't charge me anything. They are like, hey, that's nice. Show me how you do that. Let's copy it. Let's see different stuff. So actually, it's a good industry and it's a good stuff there.
Yeah, definitely. Going to next question. There are any differences between two harvests in a year for the taste, or is there a difficult to harvest?
With the two harvests?
Yeah, between two harvests in a year.
So yes, I mean here in Colombia, the problem is that we're a little bit romantic about that because we say like, hey, look, our coffee is better because we handpick the coffee, right? Mm-hmm. And it's not because we have to, it's not because we want to, because we have to harvest, so that make it more difficult to actually produce coffee here in Colombia. Mm-hmm. And we need a lot of labor by hand to produce this coffee, and that generates more cost. So yes, mm-hmm. Of course it's difficult because as Brazil, like they use a lot of mechanical ways to harvest with only one harvest with different varieties, so they can lower the cost and they can lower the margin, but in quantities is better. But if you can see here, I mean here we have really steep mountains. It's really humid, so it's difficult to actually process coffee here in Colombia, and that's the main reason why we harvest, why we process the wash process. Mm-hmm. Because think about this: wash process have one layer. You only have to dry the parchment, right?
Yeah.
Honey process have two layers. You have to actually wash. Dry the parchment and the mucilage and the sticky part of the cherry. And natural process, you have three layers: the parchment, the mucilage, and the skin. So that actually is really difficult for Colombia because one of the other reasons is that most of the coffee growers here in Colombia are really small. They may have 3,000, 4,000, 5,000 trees. Some of them don't know how to read or write, and that's why we actually have to. That's the best. This is the wash process is the safest way to have a better coffee. But if you can control a little bit more fermentation process, then you can harvest good. But in Colombia, it's a challenge because of this. As you can see, in one tree we can see 9 months of process. You know, and imagine if you put a machine there, so you are damaging the other coffees or the flowers that are coming for the next harvest. So yes, it's a challenge.
Yeah, I'll translate it. Sorumuz şuydu arkadaşlar. İki hasat sezonu arasında, bir yıl içerisindeki iki hasat sezonu arasında zorluklar veya farklılıklar var mı? Bu daha önce de bahsetmiştik. Kolombiya'da bir yıl içerisinde 2 hasat sezonu var. Bu 2 hasat arasındaki farklılıkları, yani tam bir yıl içerisinde olan farklılıkları veya zorlukları konuştuk. Genel olarak dediği şey şu, toplamadan ziyade fermentasyon zorluğu var mevsimsel olarak. Kurutma aşamalarında özellikle. İşte yağışlı sezon diye geçen veya güneşli sezon diye geçen 2 tane mevsime sahip genellikle bu bütün ekvator kuşağında yer alan ülkelerin çoğu 2 mevsime sahipler. En büyük zorluğu o sebeple biz burada kurutma aşamasında yaşıyoruz. Özellikle natural ve bal proseslerde ciddi zorluk yaşıyoruz bunun için dedi. Yani tatsal olarak bir farklılıktan söz etmedi ama kurutma aşamasındaki zorluklardan söz etti. You can continue or I'm going to next question.
Next question is one. Yeah.
You can show us the different types of drying.
So here is, look, so
Fermentation.
here's wash process, yellow honey,
Red honey.
red honey, black honey, natural.
Natural.
And inside that is, hold on a second.
Arkadaşlar burada yan yana yıkanmışı, sarı balı, kırmızı balı, siyah balı. Bu arada ilk koyduğu şeyde yanlış görmüyorsam daha tam yeni yerleştirilmiş bir bal proses. Biraz bir şey görünüyor, parlak gözüküyor çünkü. Siyah bal, bir de natural çekirdeği gösterdi bize, natural kurutmayı. Özellikle balda fark ettiğiniz üzere burada 3 tane farklı çeşit var. Sarı olan, kırmızı olan ve siyah olan. Bunlar fermentasyon sürelerinin uzunluğuyla alakalı. Kurutma sürelerinin uzunluğuyla alakalı. Pardon. Bu üzerindeki müsilajla fermente olmaya başladığında ne kadar uzun süre boyunca kurursa o kadar fazla kararmaya başlıyor üzerindeki müsilaj. En sonunda işte sarıdan siyaha doğru çalıyor. Hatta o ilk koyduğuna ne kadar daha çok yeni zannediyorum da bir de beyaz bal diye geçen bir yöntem var. O da en kısası zannediyor. You can continue.
So these are like the different process, right? But that doesn't mean that this tastes the same as every single wash, or this one tastes the same, or this one tastes the same. So depends on variety, the fermentation, a lot of different variables. This one can actually taste like this one, and this one can taste like this one, and it's crazy, you know. It's this. I mean, the process is just the way that it looks like, but it's actually, that doesn't mean that it's going to be good or bad. Right? So a natural process can be really bad or really good. A geisha can be really bad or really good. A castillo can be really bad or really good. It depends.
The process.
Always depends. Yeah.
I'm going to next question.
Okay.
How can we find out whether the condition of workers in the farm are fair or not as a consumers?
Okay, like better condition of the workers in the farm.
Yeah.
So,
Or
example, the labor here in Colombia is really difficult because like imagine this, like to get 1 kilogram of this coffee, you have to get 6 kilograms of the cherry to get 1 kilogram of this. Here in Colombia, we get paid about $1.2 the pound of this one, and we have to pay around 20-30 cents for the coffee cherry to the pickers. That's the normal price. But if we are actually selling this coffee, because this coffee here, the honey process that we're selling through Nikolai to Stuttgart, this one they pay us I think that like three or four times more than the normal price, than the normal market price. So we are actually paying double of the income of the pay to the pickers, so they can pick better coffee. So to do specialty coffee is not just better for the coffee farmer, but it's actually good and better for the pickers and the workers in the farm, because you can actually give them more money to do a better job. You know, people don't think that coffee is actually a fruit. They pick everything. They pick the green ones, the rotten ones, the ones that are biting by insects, because they are just thinking in weight, right? But imagine this, you're making an orange juice with one green orange and one rotten orange. That orange juice is going to taste really, really bad. But what happens if you make a really orange juice with only the one that are ripe and really sweet and beautiful? It's going to taste great. And that's the same with coffee. So that's why we have to pay the better pay for the one that are picking better coffee, and the other was we have a normal pay that is more than the average here in Colombia, but it's because we are selling specialty coffee. That's why we have better pays. And I think that one of the best ways to be profitable and transparent and have a good traceability is to have these direct contacts. You know, like example like Daniel in Amatiu. These exporters, look, they are just like, look, this is the client, this is the producer, I'm the middleman, these are the prices, everything is transparent, is, you know, it's fair, it's good, it's not just like I'm going to buy you a cheap coffee and then I'm going to sell it really expensive. So that's the partners that we have to look like, people like Daniel, people like Nicole, people like, you know, like we exporters that are really want to help others.
Yeah, translated. Şuydu arkadaşlar, güzel de bir soruydu. Sorunun sahibi de umarım buradadır çünkü çok güzel bir cevap aldık bunun için. Öncelikle sorumuz şuydu, toplayıcıların yani hasat sezonuna çalışan işçilerin durumlarının, koşullarının tarla içerisinde fiyat olarak olsun, koşul olarak olsun iyi olup olmadığını nereden anlarız? Aslında bunun çok güzel bir cevabı var, çok güzel bir cevabı var. Bu nitelikli kahve. Nasıl nitelikli kahve? Normalde diyor işçiler ne toplayacağını bilmedikleri zaman, iyi eğitilmedikleri zaman, özellikle de ticari kahve içiyse şöyle bir sınıflandırma oluyor. Ödenen para kilo başına. O kişi diyor eğer iyi eğitim almalıysa ve ödenen kilo başına alıyorsa fiyatı, o diyor kiloyu yükseltmek için olgun olmayanı da topluyor, fazla olgunlaşmış olanı da topluyor, olgunlaşmış olanı da topluyor, kötü meyveyi de topluyor, iyi meyveyi de topluyor, karman çorman bir toplama yapıyor. Yeter ki diyor kilo yükselsin ki fiyat yükselsin diye. Ama diyor bu iş diyor ticari kahve olunca, ticari kahve satışının fiyatının da ucuzluğunu düşünürsen ne kadar kilo olursa olsun ödenen para ucuz. Nitelikli kahve burada çok güzel bir anahtar rol üstleniyor. İşçilerin koşullarını yükseltmek, kazançlarını yükseltmek için. Siz nitelikli ürün getirirseniz sizin fiyatınız o kadar artacak. Yani kilo başına değil, getirdiğiniz ürün başına fiyatınız yükselecek. Ve bu sefer siz işçileri eğitiyorsunuz. Çoğu işçi diyor Kolombiya'da diyor, birçok kahve bilmiyor diyor kahvenin bir meyve olduğunu ve düzgün olgunlaşmış meyvenin kullanılması gerektiğini. Bunu diyor portakal suyu gibi düşünün. Olgunlaşmamış portakalı sıkmıyoruz portakal suyu yapmak için. Olgunlaşmış olanı yapıyoruz. Neden? Çünkü artık insanlar onu biliyor. Biz de bunları öğretiyoruz. Bunları öğrettikçe düzgün olgunlaşmış kaliteli meyveler ayıklanıyor ve getiriliyor. Ve biz ona göre bunun fiyat kondisyonunu yükseltiyoruz. Esasen buradan da anlayabilirsiniz işçilerin düzgün ücret aldığına dair durumu diyor. I'm going to next question.
Okay.
You have collaboration with iFinca. Would you present iFinca to us?
Yes, of course. So, in the moment, hold on, give me a second. Okay, so in the moment I'm doing a specialty coffee, right? And one of the difficulties that we found in doing specialty coffee is actually to get clients. You know, it's difficult to actually go and sell coffee. Because you need to learn how to cup, you need to learn how to score coffee, you need to learn how to roast, you need to learn a lot of stuff. Simple things like learning, like know English, like to communicate with your clients. A lot of farmers cannot do that, so it's difficult. So in one of those tours, Alexander Barra, that is the founder of iFinka, it's a platform that uses blockchain technology to show all the transparency and sales in coffee, and all the supply chains in the coffee industry. So he once was like other gringo, like other guy from the US, like, you know, tall, blonde, and all the stuff here as a tourist. And then he was like, "Hey Jose, I have an idea, man. I want to help coffee growers because I see that this is not fair. I mean, coffee growers are not connected with the final client." So that's why he created this platform, and then we become friends. After 2 years, he developed the platform. Once in a while, we meet each other and explain him about coffee and all the stuff because he didn't know anything about coffee. So what he's doing in the moment with the platform is that giving blockchain technology to secure the supply chain that is fair for everyone, for exporters, importers, for co-ops, for farmers, charging the ways that they are doing the stuff, and to lower the cost of all the supply chain. And it's a great project. That's why when he told me like, "Hey Jose, I need you here to work with me full time," and I was like, "No man, you are crazy. I have too much work." Sometimes I watch I see my watch, and it's like 15 hours working a day, 16 hours working a day. Sometimes I'm like 1-2 a.m. and I'm roasting or cupping coffee, because I'm really passionate of coffee. I love this, and this is not like work for me. But it takes me a lot of time, so I decided just to work with him in special projects to help people. So now in the moment we're with the Chamber of Commerce in a project that is called the Project of Specialty Coffee. So we want to put this coffee of them, put it and sell it through the platform, and with blockchain technology, so they can see, like the consumer can see all the QR codes and see which is the producers, the farm, the variety, the altitude, the process. They can see the price that they were paid to the coffee producer with this blockchain technology. So I say like, okay, I'm by myself. I actually don't need to sell coffee because I already have really good clients, right? But if I can work in a project or in a business that helps the coffee industry and coffee farmers, it's great, man, and I will do it for sure. So that's why I'm working in the platform, because I know that it's going to be a good way to change the coffee industry, because it's the first platform in the world that uses blockchain technology. So that's great.
So I think gets the best product of the coffee technology at the SCA Expo. I saw the website at the iFinka.
Yeah. So yes. So, and if you see there, you see like there. I mean, here with iFinka, we actually we are not just working with 88s, 89s, 90s, because I mean, you and me knows that someone that have a 90 can sell the coffee, someone that can create 88 have the abilities to sell coffee. But let's be honest, someone that have 82 or 83, they don't know English, and there is like a really poor coffee grower. They don't have the abilities to sell the coffee and to have a difference in money, right? But with this technology, there is actually a differentiation of price to these people, to the ones that have 81s, 82, 83s, 84s, that actually are doing a good job, and that's great, and that's why I'm working here, because I love the idea.
Yeah. I'll translate it. Also, I'll represent yesterday at forum in Turkey. I represent I think it's because it's a beautiful technology for the connecting farmers, roasters, consumers, baristas, or the other professions. It's very beautiful project. I'll translate it. Arkadaşlar, I think diye bir program var. Ben bunu ilk daha Master of Cafe'de jüriyken Jose de oradaydı ve I think'te birkaç insan vardı falan. İlk o zaman görmüştüm. O zaman çok konuşamamıştık. Aynı zamanda bir toplantıları vardı. Ben de bu soruyu merak ettiğim için ben sormuştum. Çok güzel bir proje çünkü iThink'a. iThink'a aslında iki temele dayanıyor. Şu, birincisi esas Jose'nin bahsettiği durum. Birçok Kolombiyalı çiftçi ana dilini biliyor sadece ve ticaret konusunda yeterli yetiye sahip olamıyor. Veya kazıklanma durumu olabiliyor aracılar tarafından veya alıcılar tarafından. Bir yandan ürünlerini iyi prezente edemiyorlar. Yeterli iş bağlantıları olmadıklarından. Bir yandan başka çiftçilerle çok fazla iletişim halinde kalamıyorlar. Çünkü yine keza iş bağlantıları çok fazla olmadığından. Birinci aşama bu. Çiftçileri birbirine bağlamak. Zaten sloganları Connecting to Farmers. Birinci aşamada bunu geliştirmek için kurulmuş bir platform. Siz tarım üreticisi olarak başvuruyorsunuz, kahve üreticisi olarak başvuruyorsunuz, kayıt oluyorsunuz programa ve çeşitli ülkelerdeki çeşitli çiftçilerle görüşebiliyor, fikir paylaşabiliyor, ürünlerinizi sunabiliyorsunuz. İkinci aşamada başka bir kovanı görüyoruz burada arkadaşlar, küçük aralığın. Başka bir amacda aslında bir önceki soruyla da bağlantılı son tüketici nereden bilebilir aşaması geçiyoruz burada. Yani iThink'a siz son tüketici olarak başvurabiliyorsunuz arkadaşlar. Veya barista olarak başvurabiliyorsunuz, kavurucu olarak başvurabiliyorsunuz. Bu başvurularda girdiğiniz zaman siz çiftçi ne kadar kazanıyor, toplayıcıya ne kadar ödüyor, aracı ondan ne kadar kazanıyor, ne kadar ödüyor, aracıdan siz kaç alıyorsunuz, aracı ondan kaç alıyor, sizin aracılarla iletişiminiz, sizin çiftçilerle iletişiminiz ve diğer bütün kahveye dair meslek gruplarındaki iletişim. Çünkü orada 8 farklı, yanlış hatırlamıyorsam, meslek grubu vardı. Bunları birbirine bağlayan bir program ancak. Tavsiye ederim, gerçekten çok güzel bir proje. Aynı zamanda da 2019 yılında SA Expo'da en iyi kahve teknolojisi ödülü aldı bu program. Son versiyonunda ufak bir problem var kayıt olma aşamasında. Onu Jose ile konuştuk. Pazartesi bildirecek. Eğer indirmek isteyen varsa önümüzdeki hafta indirebilir. Gerçekten güzel bir program. Faydalanırsınız. So we are going to last question.
Okay.
How does affect coronavirus outbreak to Colombian coffee farming and also the farming, generally farming? What precaution taken by the Colombian government for agriculture? And do precautions answer the purpose?
Okay, so coronavirus is actually, I don't know if you know, but Colombia has been the country that have the quarantine more extended in the world.
Mm-hmm.
So the Colombian government actually extended a lot the quarantine here. In the beginning, we had a really low numbers, but now we are getting, because the economical part is actually really difficult. So now the government is allowing to some economical area sectors to start to work again, and actually that makes to increase the infects more. We have around 1,000, 1,500 a day in Colombia. So some people, we are a little bit like afraid about that. Here in Antioquia, we are not actually that bad in this region, because we are managing the stuff better than in other regions. But in agriculture, how that changed, we actually did a documental with the Secretary of Agriculture, with the government. They called me and said, like, hey Jose, we need a coffee farm. And I was like, come here and film the stuff here. I will show you the link on YouTube if you want to see the documental. So the government did a project of document, not just with coffee, but with honey, with plantain, with sugarcane, with all of this agro-industrial stuff, because they want to show, hey, look, how important is the agriculture to the people, It's not that the vegetable, the fruits are not just something that you take it from the supermarket and that's it. So the Colombian government actually is increasing a little bit more about this. That is really important. The agricultural part didn't stop. I mean, we keep doing the same stuff with some, mask and stuff and distance and stuff like that. But agriculture didn't stop here in Colombia. The other thing is that in some places here in Colombia is quite weird the way that we actually pick the coffee, because the pickers, depends on the region, the harvest season is going to change, right? So in some regions are example like in October, November. In other regions are December, January. In other ones are May, April. So it's going to change depending on the region. So there are these pickers that are like nomads, that they go to different regions looking for the harvest seasons to pick. So the problem of the coronavirus is that because we closed the borderlines of different regions here, so these pickers couldn't go to these places. So a lot of farmers were like, "Hey, we don't have pickers to pick the coffee because the government is not allowing the workers to come to the towns to."
Also, they mentioned about this situation too before.
Yeah, but worse. So now it's worse. But it's funny because these are the traditional farms. The specialty coffee farms are actually not having this problem because we are paying better. So the pickers go to the farms that are paying better. And because we're working with a specialty, that's why we don't have this problem. But the ones that the normal like 98% of the coffee industry here is with wash process, commercial commodity coffee. So it's actually really difficult for them to manage this with the coronavirus. So the other thing is that here in Colombia, here in this farm, we didn't have that problem because we are in the city. So as you know, a lot of people lose the work because of the coronavirus. People that work in construction or in different stuff. So we didn't have that problem because they come. I mean, they come here to the farm to ask for work because we are here in the city. That's why we didn't have that problem in the farm. We actually one of the things that we did was like, okay, let's stop to have different workers. Let's work with the ones that have been working for us and the people that have been working in the past years, and to have like those controls, so we don't have like a worker that we don't know where he lives and can get like the coronavirus or infected or something like that. So that's the things that we did here. Just work with the one that we were working in the past years.
Also, this situation is very similar to Turkey. We have really closest numbers of infection in Turkey, and most of people lost their jobs. It's very difficult to manage the situation in Turkey too. Yeah, I hope it will be better next few months or year. I don't know, but I hope. I'll translate it. Daha önce Daniel'la da konuşmuştuk arkadaşlar bu konuyu. Soru şuydu ve hemen yani aynen her misafirime sordum ben bu konuyu. Kendi meslekleri açısından değerlendirmelerini istemiştim. Kahve sektörüne etkisini. Ve Daniel ihracatçı Kolombiya'da kendisi. O da aynı şeyleri söz etmişti ve şu an daha da kötüye gidiyormuş durum. Enfeksiyon rakamları çok fazla artmış. Bu arada Türkiye'de de çok benzer rakamları var aslında yani. 1000-1100 arası seyrediyormuş. Bizim de şu günlerde düşmeye başladı. 900-800 küsure. Daniel'la konuştuğumuzda çoğunlukla karantina altındalarmış. Bu sanırım yavaş yavaş bitiyor. Fakat diyor hükümetin aldığı önlemler çok fazla işe yaramadı başlangıçta dedi ve bundan dolayı çok ciddi sorunlar yaşadık ve birçok çiftçi sıkıntı yaşamaya başladığını, işçi getiremiyoruz tarlalara, ne yapacağız biz? Biz diyor nitelikli kahveciler olarak bu konuyu diyor çok yaşamadık, çok sorun yaşamadık. Özellikle de ben diyor, çünkü ben diyor şehire çok yakınım, çok kolay ulaşımım. Bir yandan o problem var şimdi. Kolombiya çok dağlık bir ülke. Çok dağlık bir ülke olduğu için ulaşım da zor. Uçakla şehirden şehire uçmuyorsunuz. Otobüste çünkü cidden bir yerden bir yere gitmek çok zor Kolombiya'da. Yani saatlerinizi alır. Diyorum. Bir bölgeden bir bölgeye gidişiniz sizin dağlardan dolayı 8 saati bulabiliyor. Halbuki mesafe olarak yakın bir bölge. Bu problemi Capilla del Rosario olarak hem iyi para vermelerinden dolayı çiftçilere hem de toplayıcılara hem de şehre yakın olmalarından dolayı ciddi anlamda çözebilmişler Capilla del Rosario'da. Diğer nitelikli çiftçiler, nitelikli kahve üreticisi olan çiftçiler de bu durumu olabildiğini çözebildi. Ticari kahve üreten çiftçileri daha kötü bu durum diyor. Fakat genel olarak hepimizi vurdu diyor ve birçok insan işsiz şu an diyor. Kaldı ki Türkiye'deki gibi. Umarım daha iyi bir yöne gidecek önümüzdeki aylarda veya yıllarda diye ümit ediyoruz. I think this is the end. If we don't have any questions from our...
They were asking about you, like who you are, what you do.
I'm a barista trainer and coffee roaster in Turkey. Yeah, that's it.
And yeah.
And I
here they were in Spanish.
Visit, I think, 6 months ago at Capilla del Rosario to Jose. Yeah.
So he came here to Colombia to visit coffee farms. He's a really cool guy. He knows a lot about coffee. You are the 2019 winner, right, of brewing?
Yeah.
And 2017?
No. I'm a Brewers Cup champion at the 2017 and this year's Brewers Cup champion.
Okay.
Forget it.
So awesome. A really cool guy, a really humble and nice heart. So thank you, man, for everything.
Thank you so much for this opportunity because it's very learningful, educational broadcast I ever made. Thank you so much for this opportunity. Actually, I really appreciate it and glad to you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for your participation, and thank you so much.
And actually, if you want to, guys, if we want you to do something else about, I don't know, like a certain topic about just honeys or varieties or something with different like people here, like we can call like Nicola, you know, or Danny, or people here. If you want something, we are more than like open to share the few things that we know. Okay.
Yeah. Thank you so much, man.
Thank you, man. Okay. See you, man. Okay, let's hope you come back soon here to Colombia.
Yeah, I hope so.
After the coronavirus. Okay, man.
Yeah, see you.
See you, man. Bye. Ciao a todos. Ciao.
Teşekkürler arkadaşlar. Görüşmek üzere.